In this lecture, we are going to learn about Noscitur Sociis or Noscitur Sociis. There are two ways to pronounce this rule. Literally, this word means known by the company it keeps. This means that the meanings of the words can be recognized and derived in light of the words around a specific word. In English, this can be described as the rule of recognition or determination by the associated or related words. The words must be interpreted in the context of the words around them. In the case of Bourne against Norwich Crematorium Limited, Stamp J stated that words derive colour from those which surround them. Beautiful description. Sentences are not mere collections of words to be taken out of the sentence, defined separately by reference to the dictionary or decided cases, and then put back again into the sentence with the meaning which one has assigned to them as separate words, so as to give the sentence or phrase a meaning which, as a sentence or phrase, it cannot bear without distortion of the English language. Stamp J then goes on to state that one must construe a word or phrase in a section of an Act of Parliament with all the assistance one can from decided cases, and if you will, from the dictionary, is not in doubt. But having obtained all that assistance, one must not at the end of the day distort that which has to be construed and give it a meaning which in its context one would not think it can possibly bear. Let's look at the example of a case in which this rule was applied. Pangoli against Bell Punch Company Limited, 1964 case. This rule was applied in this case to interpret a provision in the Factories Act 1961. The Act required that all floors, steps, stairs, passageways and gangways had to be kept free from obstruction. In this case, the court had to decide whether a floor used for storage was covered under the 1961 Act. The court held that since all the other words indicated passageway, a floor that was used exclusively for storage did not come under the Act. These are some of the beautiful ways in which the statutes are interpreted. Let's look at another example, and please, I have to say that again, do not forget to undertake exercises and quizzes to help support your learning. Another example of a case in which this rule was applied is Inland Revenue Commissioners and Frere. The Income Tax Act 1958 allowed the amount of interest, annuities or other annual interest to be deducted from the income. The respondent in this case had taken out a short-term loan and paid interest on that loan. For tax assessment liability purposes, he sought to deduct the interest that he was liable to pay on the short-term loan. As per the Noscitur Sociis or Noscitur Sociis rule, the mentioned amounts of interest related only to annual payments. Since the interest paid by the respondent on the short-term loan was not an annual interest payment, he could not deduct it from his income and was therefore liable to pay tax on it. Another example of Muir against Keay, 1875 case, where the court considered the Refreshment Houses Act 1860, which dealt with public refreshment, resort and entertainment and the licensing of premises. The defendant was running a business under the name The Cafe. It was found to be open through the night, and at one time 17 women and 20 men were present at the business premises. The cafe sold them cigars, coffee and ginger beer, which they were consuming in the premises. Court held that the house was kept open for public refreshment, resort and entertainment, and as such required a license. The defendant argued that since he did not provide entertainment, he did not need a license. The court was of the view, though, that the entertainment does not need to be musical. Reception and accommodation, etc. of the people may also come under entertainment requiring license. So really this case broadens the scope of the licensing in this case. Now that we have learnt about the rule of Noscitur Sociis, that is the word as it means known by the company it keeps. I hope you have found this lecture useful. Please undertake some exercises. The link has been given either at the end of this course or below this video. You can also undertake quizzes to support your learning. Let's go on to our next lecture and learn about eusdem generis and what that means.